All right, guys, it has been a long time. Only the most loyal followers and listeners of the Strong Life podcast will remember the bonus episodes that I've done with my boy Jonas DeFess. We called him Real Talk. Jonas just texted me. I was shutting it down for the night. He texts me and says, podcast. He always does that. But that's what a bro does, man. You got to be ready to go when the bro needs you. So I said, all right, let's do it. Let's rock the house.
All right.
Know what we're going to talk about. Here, let's go like this, man. How's your week been, my bro? We always do a check-in. We always do a bro check-in.
It was good, man. I just got back in from a kind of like a trip from Florida with
That's
my
right.
buddy and had a good time and came back to the family and went skating yesterday and skateboarding and fucking killed it, like crushed it. All these kids were just sitting down watching while I'm skating, killing it. And they were wondering why I'm out there like killing it. It's because I'm actually trying, and I'm just not out there looking at my phone and just being somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The phone. And I talk about this with training. And then sometimes, like the younger guys will be like, don't start talking about the back in the day and you didn't have phones. It is what it is today. But look, the bottom line is there was a purity about doing stuff and not worrying if somebody recorded it or recording everything. And I think even if you are younger, there you should experience times of training, skateboarding, mountain biking, whatever it is that you do without the phone. You should try to do some of that stuff where you don't feel like it only counts if you record it, you know? And also, speaking of, you did this trip with a buddy of yours to Florida. You're married, you have kids. Guys ask me about that stuff all the time. Like Thursday, I took a little trip up to a buddy's gym. I did a check-in on my North Jersey gym. And then I went up and we just hung out. We talked about life. Of course, we talked training, we talked business. We just talk. I think it's super important to be able to not always have to be, I'm only with my boyfriend, I'm only with my girlfriend, I'm only with my family. You got to get some of that bro time. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah, it's important because there's certain things you don't want to talk about with your family because it's too stressful, and
Yeah.
you need other people to to not get so emotional when you talk about them, and your friends, your inner circle, I feel is like, outside of your family, is your real friends. Those are the guys who are really going to care about you the most and kind of give you the best advice, you know?
You've, you and I have been friends. We met at an old fitness conference. We were in Disney World. We may have been in our early 30s because I remember your daughter was maybe like 5 years old. My kids were like a year and a half and 3 years old. So yeah, we're talking like 11, 12 years ago. And
Yeah.
ever since then, man, we've always had these kind of chats. And I remember once you did tell me that about my business, you're like, dude, you can't treat your business like it's like some emotional relationship. You have to look at it like a pro, and you can't get the emotions always involved. And I've actually had this conversation with my coaching group, the Strong Life Brotherhood. As I said, whether you like it or not, the number one goal of a business is to make money, because when you make money, you make your life better, you get better, and if you're better, you can be better serving to others. And I think when you're emotional about it, you start saying things like, you know, I don't know. Right now, I'm just doing it. It's the holidays, so I don't want to, I don't want to get more members. Or you just come up with these kind of like stupid things, and you stop treating it like what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. My favorite thing to say is at the end of the day, it's a business, not a feelings factory.
Truth bomb.
Like,
End the podcast.
right. and,
Just
and here's one more thing about like, doing something like you were talking about, like how I do it my skateboarding and how like you can do it like riding mountain bikes or doing whatever it is. If you're playing tennis, I mean, like who's gonna play tennis while looking at their phone? Like you can't, like that'd be the most horrible thing. But the whole point of these things, to do these things that are kind of like hobbies, is because it allows you to focus all your energy on what you're doing and kind of give you a therapeutic relief of everything else going on in your life. Because you know what? While you're riding a mountain bike down a mountain going 15, 20 miles an hour, looking out, dodging rocks, I can guarantee you, you're not thinking about nothing else in your life, not going over those handlebars. And sometimes you need that little relief of all the day-to-day stresses. And that's why it's really important to have those things that challenge you consistently in life, where it's so challenging, where it takes away all these other thoughts that are the thoughts that are kind of like holding you down. You need a break, you need to disconnect, and you can use those recreational hobbies to disconnect, which I feel like as you get older, you really do benefit from those kind of disconnecting breaks as you age and your stamina goes down, and you got to pay more attention to everything. There's got a lot more on your plate, a lot more responsibilities as you age. So it's really important to take advantage of those things that really disconnect you, because you definitely need them.
Dude, I'm just, when you're saying that, I'm thinking some guys, their hobbies, it's football season. Their hobby is college football every Saturday, NFL every Sunday, drinking and eating. Whereas your hobby is you're skating. And it's like, I always equate that stuff to Point Break, the first one, where Patrick Swayze tells Keanu Reeves, he's like, listen, man, surfing is like this place where you lose yourself and find yourself. And to me, training and lifting, or any training, has always been like that. But recently, I've been working really hard on bettering my Instagram, bettering my YouTube channel. And here's the double-edged sword with that, is that's my hobby and my business, which is a real dangerous like area to be, I always feel, because now I'm like recording. I always say I'll record one set and then I talk to the video camera. Like, that's it. Now I got to train. Like, I'm legitimately willing to, like, if I had a guy who could film me, okay, great. But I'm not going to film the whole damn workout and screw up my hobby, the thing that's like my therapy to me.
Yeah, I mean, because like when you're squatting or lifting something else, you shouldn't be thinking about anything else. The problem with using working out as a hobby, is that you reach to a point where you're doing more damage than good. You can only get so good with working out without damaging your body. And a lot of times when people take working out to the extreme, they usually get hurt working out, which is the whole point of working out, is to get stronger and build you up for it, whatever you're trying to do in life, not hold you back. So, the skill level of not getting hurt while working out consistently for years and years and years and years and years, whether it's doing like CrossFit, you have to be highly skilled to not get hurt if you're going to work out consistently heavy and harder. And I don't think that commonly happens when you get older. Usually you get a little bit, worse with the working out. Your form gets a little worse. You have more injuries you have to deal with, and it kind of
If you don't evolve,
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking about. So while you're saying that, so right now you're very ripped. You're very ripped, Jonas. So I was thinking, you texted me so long ago. You owned a CrossFit. You also had the private studio, but you were training at another CrossFit. You texted me a video of you front squatting like 420, something like that. Definitely, it was over 400. Yeah. And, now you don't lift, you walk long walks and you skateboard. And to me, I've always said, like, training, I don't care what I'm actually doing. Of course, I love to lift, but let's say my knee was healthy, I would walk through the trails and do the pull-ups on tree branches. I'd carry a log or a stone. I don't really care what I'm doing, but it's interesting. You've evolved, and I think you get injured if you don't evolve. Marty Gallagher, who wrote The Purposeful Primitive, told me that the guys that mess up, they're like, well, I can't lift what I used to lift 10 years ago, 20 years ago, so I'm not going to do it. Or they're eating the way they ate 20 years ago. But dude, when you're 22 compared to 42, you're different. You can't be eating the same, training the same. You got to evolve. You got to change. Talk about business, because let's talk about business, Jonas, because this is an interesting time. There's people that couldn't keep their gyms open. They had to shut down. Some people were for, like, there's the government destroyed them. I've seen, California gym shut down. Kelly Starrett and his wife shut down their San Francisco CrossFit after 15 years. And so, you closed your gyms a couple of years ago. You sold them.
Yeah,
And
got rid of them right before. Yep.
yep. So, and then we've got friends that also kind of pivoted. They evolved. They maybe changed their in-person stuff to online stuff. Just give thoughts on the gym business now that you're out of it. What are your thoughts?
Sorry. This sound. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Sound is good, bro.
Okay. I had some. I'm in my little my little hideout room, and I got the hot water heater in here. So this room's like, it's great. It's like I got this like house, but like I'm still in the littlest room ever all day.
Sometimes you need that little whatever you call
doghouse.
it.
Yeah, it's like the little like man cave, and
Dude,
mine's just like a hot water heater room.
Jonas, let me say this. Let me say this before we talk about the business stuff. So you know me. I've always followed Dan Kennedy in business. Not anymore. He's kind of out of it. But I remember in the early days, I bought this program from him, and I remember him talking about, I don't know what business the guy was in, but the guy was like a multi-millionaire. And the guy had this little like cabin in the woods. Nothing in the cabin but a fireplace. He said he had like a little refrigerator with soft drinks. That's exactly what he said, soft drinks, and a radio with a cassette player. So it was old. And he said that guy said the most important part of his day with regards to business was going to this cabin for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and doing head trip stuff, just listening to Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, or whatever he was listening to, and getting away from day-to-day stuff. And so, you've got this little place. I always say I would get a cabin in the woods. I think it's important.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I found a great alternative to if you don't have that place, and it's called a park. And you go walk around in that park for 2 hours, and you will find like a lot about yourself, because you are forced to slow down to do more. What I mean by that is like, go look how much time you spend on your Instagram. I bet it's probably 2+ hours easy on all social media. You unplug from that, you delete those apps from your phone, and you go make sure you go spend that time doing something productive. And you can go do that by taking these walks. That's what I found by like, it fills a void of being, it like makes you slow down to do more. It's hard to explain, but like when you have to go walk 10 miles a day, everything else you do is very properly time managed and very efficient, because in order to spend that much time walking, you have to be very dialed in to get everything else done with your responsibilities. Making time for yourself to make sure you take care of yourself when you go on these walks. That's what it's all about. It's about self-care. Getting into your head. You got to get into your head, and you got to face those demons, and you got to walk it. And you can't run away. You can't force it. You have to walk it. And it really makes you think about what's important. And so that's what I've been finding about the walks has been really great. And in turn of walking, you can really, lose some body fat, man. It's great. You really benefit in all ways. And you'll see when you walk, you slow down and you see everybody rushing around you. And you see these people that are rushing around you are the people who have the biggest problem with losing weight, because they're all trying to force it and rush it off, and they're damaging their body by running with being 50 pounds overweight, jogging miles being 50 pounds overweight, and they're creating all this damage on their joints. And if they're young and doing it, they just won't know until 10 years from now when their joints hurt. So my philosophy of working out is what you saw me when I was squatting 400, 500 pounds or front squatting a bunch 10 years ago. That's what helped me get to me where I am now. What I'm doing now by being ripped and lean and walking is I'm going to really benefit from it 10 years from now when I'm like in my 50s or 60s, and my joints won't be beat up, and I'll still have the ability to be active. So I'm always thinking ahead.
Yeah, that's funny. Joe DeSena was saying why he does yoga so much, especially hot yoga, is Joe is 50 now, maybe he's 51. He's like,
Mhm.
think about it. He's like, when you're 60 and 70, you're not going to worry about how big your biceps are. You want flexibility and mobility. And so Thursday, when I went up to visit my buddy Mike Guadango, he did like dry needling stuff, all kinds of soft
Mhm.
tissue work, and just all kinds of rolling out. I remember he would, what he, I guess we call it body work, but like I stood up and my body felt lighter. My feet felt lighter. It was crazy. And he's like, yeah, you got to do more of all of these kind of little things like hip adduction, hip abduction, all this little stuff. And, I don't chase the weight anymore. I love the work. And so you talk about walking when you go up to, Vermont, the first thing you do with Joe is you always hike the mountain. That's always what he does. And even if he feels he's like working too much, his business calls are always on the phone while walking and carrying like a sandbag on his back or something, or just walking the mountain. He
Mhm.
makes his business call always intertwined with movement. And just,
So
yeah.
so just to explain, like, you know how like when you get really in tuned with your body's function when you're playing your sport or playing tennis or whatever is your hobby is. For me, skateboarding, I'm really in tune with my physical abilities at that time. When I'm walking, I feel like it gives me the physical ability to get in tune and align with my mind at that time.
Mind.
And my mind is feeling the same benefits that I do when I'm being extreme physically. And so while I'm walking, I'm able to have that
To
same
shut
kind
it
of
off.
extreme shut it off, and then getting in alignment with what I'm trying to do. And what I'm trying to always do is have the most fun and amazing life that I can have, and just do it within my bubble. And because it only matters to me what I do. And so I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can that makes me happy, and it works,
Dude, I
and
think
it's
we've
not easy, but it works.
no, well, I've certainly gotten to the place, and even still now, I work a lot. I have to do a lot of the work now, but I think that sometimes people get away from fun. They get away from taking care of the mind. And I do tell people, like I'm a strength coach at a high school. And so I have one phys ed class, and I tell those students, if you go out for a walk, do it without technology. I dare you to do it without your phone, to disconnect and give your mind a break. And so last year I deleted social apps off my phone. Now I'm going pretty heavy with my Instagram. That's where a lot of the eyeballs are for my business. But I just saw a buddy of mine, Logan Gelbrick. He owns Deuce Gym out in Venice, California. Awesome dude. You'd get along with him a lot. I just saw him post say, he's like, I deleted social apps for I don't know how many months. He's like, sometimes he's like, the best drug is being alone. He's like, that to me is like where you could really find yourself. And
Yeah.
so I look forward to the day when I'm not, my business is not tied to the social media stuff, where I can just, I always say it, run the gym out of the backyard in a barn, and I'm not, even worrying about the online stuff. I don't know how or when that shit'll happen, but that's, you know, when we're 70 or 80, and we're dying, are we going to say, yeah, man, I'm so pumped I spent all those hours on Instagram. Woo, high five. You're going to be like, shit, man, can't believe that phone was in my hand so much.
Well, I know what I'll be saying. I'll be saying it's time to start drinking alcohol. That's what I'll be saying. When I'm 80, let me start drinking alcohol. I haven't even drank alcohol my whole life, so I'm waiting for the perfect time when
Why?
it's proper and ready. So when I'm old and grumpy, get out my way. Give me my
Oh,
alcohol,
man.
because like that's what's going to get me to where I need to be. Then that's it. But yeah, dude, you
Real talk, baby.
real talk, dude. Like I'm serious. Like I'm planning it out, and the more you plan out in your head, as dumb as it seems, the it just happens. And I've been very lucky with the getting rid of the fitness businesses. before COVID. At the time when I was getting rid of them, it felt like I was breaking up with like getting out of a bad relationship that still had benefits to it.
Mhm.
And if you know what I mean. And it's like, man, it was hard to really figure out like, hey man, this doesn't feel right, but I have to do it. And I did it. And at the time, and it was like hard getting rid of like these things that you worked really hard for and put a lot of energy into for years, and to just get out that relationship. But I did it, and then at the time I didn't really realize why I was doing it, but it just felt right. So I went with the gut always, and it ended up benefiting me in the long run, because right now fitness businesses are not where you want to be. Like it's very like questionable of like how you can serve your client. What is
Unless
the
you're
best way?
online. I think the
Even
adults.
online, I mean, like service industry in general, whether you're giving a guitar lesson over online now as opposed to in person, it's never going to be the same. So with these guys with these fitness businesses, it's really hard to pick a direction.
What
Your
about
best advantage, if you have a business right now, your best advantage is to be able to pivot when you see the opportunity and be ready to pivot. Stay in your stance that allows you to move and dodge and weave until you see the opportunity. Once you see that opportunity, you seize and take advantage of it as much as you possibly can, until one day you'll have to pivot again, maybe 5 years.
Dude,
But
did you read the
that's how
book
it is.
you read the Book of Five Rings? Because you
Yeah.
just talked like it. So the Book of Five Rings is written by Musashi, who was that famous samurai warrior, and he speaks about like your combat stance. You're always ready, and you just said you're in your stance, ready to pivot. You could have been a samurai in your past life.
Well,
I'm serious.
the maybe the things that I'm doing right now is putting me in the same mindset as a samurai, and your body just like has these like natural tendencies to think like that when you put yourself in these situations. And I do feel like I am a warrior of myself, and I am ready for whatever comes at me more than ever. Because what I did 10 years ago got me ready to where I am now, and I feel more prepared in life than ever.
Why? Because of like all the fasting that you do and all the 10 miles of walking a day, or what do you think?
I just think it comes with experience, obviously, but it also comes with realizing like your own ego is what hurts you the most in life.
What do you mean
And
by that? What do you
and
mean?
you can
Like your own
like
ego
like
hurts you?
like your ability your constant need to feel like you need a double tap or comment on something, or like
Yes.
your gratification, like you need to prove to somebody. Like for instance, for me, like I was like, I don't have a college education or anything like that, and I always felt like I felt like I needed to prove something to somebody, like maybe the people that I didn't like in school. I had to prove to them like, oh, watch me, I'm going to go get a supercar and drive around in it, and you're still, like I was trying to impress the people that I didn't like in the first place.
Yeah.
So like, like and you have to understand, like, you're just trying to fix some kind of like insecurity that you had in the past. But a lot of people's insecurity is ego. They need
I,
that constant like, feed me, feet double tap on me, let me put this on Instagram, look at me, take selfies of myself, and let me post everything I do in life. Like they need everybody to see everything.
I remember when I was younger in this industry and just building a lot of steam, I did was like so fired up to actually experience success. I don't know if I needed people to like it, but it was exciting that I was like, yeah, man, I took my lessons learned of getting my ass kicked in my younger years, and then I just learned to not quit. And I remember that certainly fed my ego. But you mentioned the car. What's so interesting now is I'm like, as a family man, I'm like, look, I have 190 something thousand miles on my Forerunner. So I'm like, the next truck I get is going to be a Forerunner. And of course, years ago, I was like, oh, I need that TRD Pro. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing what I did before. I'll get the year end leftover. It's got 4-wheel drive, power windows, and air conditioning. Like,
Mhm.
because I remember my first car had, not my first car, my first brand new car actually had roll down windows. So I always remember like people pulling up on the other side of me, asking me for directions, and I'd have to like lean over and I'm like, I hate this. So now, like for me, being spoiled is
Yeah,
like
but now you're
power
realizing
windows.
like all
It's
you
a
realize
waste.
now
Yeah.
is like you're all you have to do now is just make yourself happy. And that might just be getting power windows. It might not be having
Simple
the
stuff.
blacked out version because it's cool or trendy or you want to look like you're successful or you just make yourself happy and that's all that matters,
That's the
and
ultimate success. Being
yeah.
happy, I think,
It's hard. I'm never like, trust me. I'm plenty not happy too. I'm plenty not happy with myself, if anything. But like,
well,
you know,
you're trying to get better, I think is what you
right?
mean. You're always trying to get better. I know I am. I'm always, I want this. I want my hometown gym to get better. I want to get more athletes to serve more people. I want my gym up north pumping with every group. So that pushes you. The tough thing about being a business owner and an entrepreneur is you can't shut it off. You don't get to go home and shut it off. And oh, I'll
Yeah.
just,
And the key to that, Zach, is having that hobby that allows you to shut it off. That's what I'm
yes.
saying. That's the key. You need this in your life.
Yep.
You need this thing that beats you up, whether it's going in the gym and doing boxing and getting, dodging punches. You need that therapy relief where you can shut it off. And that's the problem with entrepreneurs is they takes a long time for them to understand all this because as an entrepreneur, you learn as you fail, and it could be, a very long, hard failure to learn something. But eventually, I think most entrepreneurs get there and realize, like, man, because I don't clock out, I need to like figure a way to be able to disconnect in a
Or,
different way. And
or they,
sometimes getting punched in the face in a boxing match or doing some Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something like that, like wrestling, whatever it is, you need to still be able to be like, had that disconnect where the last thing you're thinking about is your business. You're not thinking about
dude,
customers, you're not thinking about refunds or taxes or anything like that. You need that like that I don't even know what it's called. It's just called
dude,
like
you need a hobby. Well, look. My son is like really into fishing. When it's warmer out, we go mountain biking. But like yesterday, he went and bought himself a new fishing rod. He had already ordered the reel. But I watch him on like this. I don't know what the hell. I don't even know how to use the TVs in this house. The smart TVs. He watches like other guys go fishing, and then they're entering tournaments, or they're just these dudes going out fishing. They record everything. He likes fishing because the sports stuff it's competitive, and he's smart. He knows how to shut off his mind to those things, and
Mhm.
so I see that he's got those hobbies, and he talks about getting a boat and those things. And even though he's young, I like that
Mhm.
he's got a hobby that he's going to do for life. And look, I remember being like, Ethan, let me tie that fishing knot for me, let me do this. And then I was like, I got to let him do this stuff on his own. Now he buys everything. He lines his fishing reel. And now, just having this conversation, that's him with his hobby, calming himself down. That's giving himself the break. And he's young, but you know what? That's
And he still
important.
needs it. He still needs it just as much as the competitive part of
Yeah.
the sports he plays. He does need that like
That
that
makes you better.
relaxation, that place where he can go fish and think
If you're
about
always
what he's
on,
yeah.
by the way, like when Mike was kind of like doing the body work on me, he's like, dude,
Mhm.
your body is locked up in like parasympathetic. Like your knees shouldn't be make you so jumpy. Like hitting the bottom of your feet should not make you so jumpy. And I was like, you know why? Because I'm always coaching or doing something. And when you're coaching other people and you're turned on, it's like you're going through a workout. In fact, I remember coaching the Lehigh wrestling team when they came to my gym in the summer. It was hot, dude. It was like 102 with the heat index. And when I was done training them, I felt like nauseous. I was like, am I going to throw up right now? Like, I don't even
Mhm.
throw up when I'm training. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was a lesson to me of how I do get sometimes too intense, even when I'm coaching. And look, I also want to say this, Jonas, people might be watching or listening. They haven't, we did Real Talk years ago. And so, talking about business and success. So I remember when I met you, the way I actually heard about you before I met you was like, I remember hearing somebody saying, this guy, Jonas DeFess, he runs these women only boot camps. He coaches for 1 hour a day. He has like 90 to 110 people. And I was like, man, who the hell is this legend? So for the people listening, now you know a little bit. And they should go back and try to find the older Real Talk episodes.
It's funny. It was like back then, though, here I am, this dude that's just crushing it in the fitness industry. But like, I'm not this fitness expert looking dude. Like I could blend right in with the next dude next to me.
You never
back
wanted
then,
to fit in.
I wasn't trying to fit in. I was just trying to make money,
I hate
and I was
fitting in.
like, yeah, and I was just trying to like, hey, I have to be around all these dudes that wear like body armor, clothes or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's just like
Under
and
Armour,
the Under Armour. Yeah, like
It was
I
like,
just have to. It's just something I have to look at, and I'm like,
this
oh
is how
God.
you dress. This is how you act.
Yeah.
Look, I hate fitting in. I can't stand being around kind of like, this is who you should hang out with. This is what we do in this town. This is how we do things in this blah, blah, blah. Like there's no artist, there's no artistic expression behind that. Like even, people running gyms, like, all right, tuck your shirt and wear that collared shirt. Guess what? I wear whatever the fuck I want to wear when I'm coaching. I don't care if it's my t-shirt name anymore. I feel like there's no rule to that. The rules I look at is give these kids all your heart. That's the rule. Not, oh, you wear the collared shirt. Oh, you tucked it in. Now you did better. That doesn't mean jack shit to me.
Right. Yeah.
It means nothing. And I just don't like fitting in. I don't want to be common man.
Well, it doesn't really resonate with you because you don't really care about those things, because that really is not what you got you where you were either. You're kind of like this dude who just started doing his own thing.
I just want to be me.
Great, and you got this great like love for the history of that's the difference between you and a lot of other people, is that you have this great knowledge and understanding of like, not just like, powerlifting or strongman stuff. You actually like the actual, old school barbell history and like all the old stuff where this thing actually was developed. And so that's, and you studied it to such a great extent, and you can see it in your books and stuff. So, it's like, it's great because, you're not somebody who is going to be like, you're a strength coach that can say, hey, I can understand how you might like CrossFit. I might understand how you might just like strength training or powerlifting. I might understand how you like only like high intensity training, because it's all beneficial part. It's all part of the history.
It's all part of the history.
Yeah. And it's all great, man. It's
Jonas,
all amazing stuff,
When I think of like, when I read about the older gyms before I was alive, they were all kind of built by like artistic men. So like Zuver's gym out in California, that guy was part of the original frogmen, before they were called Navy SEALs. So he knew how to weld. And so he welded all of his equipment, but his equipment was all monster sized. And, the door was something like 5,000 pounds, and it had, the gorillas out front.
Right.
And even like the gyms that you'd hear like Dave Draper training in, they were underneath a bar, and the benches were just like a bunch of 2x4s nailed together. And, the heavy dumbbells were welded or stuck together with these like thick industrial rubber bands. And even when I was a kid, when I went to this first gym in my area, not the YMCA, but Dynamic Fitness, there was always a bunch of like eccentric, crazy dudes. There was like Crazy Eddie, who used to like sing and curse and like do only heavy singles, doubles, and triples. And there was like Rudy, who was powerlifting. It was such a creative thing. It wasn't really just lifting. It was like art with the weights. And that to me was the most beautiful. When I saw gyms try to fit in the mid 90s, was like, oh, They got body pump class up the street. We need body pump. Oh, hardcore is not cool anymore. Let's paint everything these baby, blue colors so we don't offend people. Dude, that's what put everybody out of business, when they stopped being true to themselves. And I always say, man, real, recognize real. And that's why I respect all, and I really love all the different training. The only things I don't respect is like, gossip and drama. Like, to me, I always say gossip is language of the weak. But you just said, oh, you love CrossFit. Hey man, awesome. You love high intensity, you like machines, but when I see like the gossip involved, that's everything that I don't want to be part of in this, it's in every industry, but sometimes, it's just annoying when I hear it. Like, I've spoken at seminars, and there's always that guy. He has to be the first speaker.
That's the ego.
I gotta be first. You know what? I told somebody, this guy was like, Zach, man, can you speak at this conference? But everybody's, chose this block. I was like, bro, give me the shittiest time. Put me after lunch, after dinner. Put me on at the end. I'm gonna fucking destroy this conference, or Zoom, or whatever virtual conference. Right. That's what I tell them. And then I told the guy, I go, when I'm 60, if you ask me again, put me on last. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I've been in this industry 30 years. Bow to me. That's such bullshit. To me, everything is about respecting the weights, that's why I love the old stuff, because I'm like, it's been touched by, real hands, people that are workers. And it was about the work, man. To me, that's the most like beautiful thing about it.
Yeah.
That's the art.
They were being creative with it as well. I mean, they create, like they would research and development and had a long ways to go, and it's still
researched
with machines by doing
stuff.
Right. And they developed the stuff too.
Right. Hammer strength was developed by Gary Jones, the son of Arthur Jones.
Right. Right. And then Arthur Jones did Nautilus, which had that one of the first machines. The machines that had the Nautilus cam had the varied resistance as you moved through the range of motion.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, I'm recording something. So here's the other thing, and we're going to shut it down in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Gold's Gym Venice, Joe Gold welded all of the equipment. He built the machines. And same thing with the first gym I went to, Dynamic Fitness. That guy welded everything. And so if something broke, he'd put up like a portable curtain, and you'd see in the back the sparks flying. He'd fix it right there. And and I remember talking about that, and somebody said, hey man, in the 80s and early 90s, that was the real gym owner. It was a mom and pop setup, and they always, if you weren't fixing and building your own stuff, like then you weren't, it was tough. But listen, my man, I'm gonna shut it down. This was a great real talk for everybody listening. I'm not sure how you could pull up the old Real Talk episodes. I don't know how far back the Apple podcasts will go. I don't know if they're posted on my website. I always tell people, just use the search button. If you want to get in touch with Jonas, you can't.
I mean, look, you can go friend me on Instagram at Jonas DeFess.
Okay, we still got it.
Yeah, you can go see my skateboarding. That's all I put on there, and you can see what I'm doing up on the skateboard. And 43 years old and still doing stuff I never thought I'd be able to do on the skateboard. So,
well, I recommend people to go and watch what do you call it? Bones Brigade documentary and Yairo Dreams of Sushi. Bones Brigade documentary was basically how Pal Peralta was like, yo, we're not going to market like these other skateboarders. We're not going to do anything like these other skateboard companies. We're going to go rogue. We're going to go opposite. And this is what we stand for.
And they got the one called The Man Who Sold the World by Steve
that
Rocco.
Was wild.
Yeah, that's a really good one as well. It just goes to show you and skateboarding is like really trendy and cool right now. It's like the coolest thing in the world. It's really become like a big industry. But we could talk about that later.
That's right.
But I mean, look, hey,
back in the 80s, you got arrested for it. Just like today, running a gym, you get arrested for it.
Yeah. So maybe like the new thing, if you want to be extreme, you got to be a gym owner that opens up past 10 p.m. You know, you're really
Ah,
extreme.
you get
All right,
crazy.
man.
Stay
All right,
on.
good talk to you. All right.
Hold on, bro. Hang tight. I'm shutting it down.